folks, Gene Gallen here with the Chatham Journal, and I'm out here at Seaforth at the football stadium, and I'm sitting here with a special guest. I've got SPC Army Specialist Brandon Hexum, and Brandon, he was out here. You were doing what out here this afternoon?
We were doing the site survey, just making sure everything's good to go for the jump tomorrow.
A jump. You're doing some kind of jump tomorrow, Friday.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell us a little bit about that jump?
So tomorrow at 7:15, we're going to be doing a parachute jump into the Seaforth High School.
All right, and you're going to be the first one out. Is that correct?
Most likely. I'll find out tomorrow, but I think there's a pretty good chance it's going to be me.
All right. Now, some people can read your T-shirt, but you're part of a pretty elite group, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And that group is
the United States Army Parachute Team, the Golden Knights.
And the Golden Knights have been around since what, 1955?
1959.
59, okay. And how did it all start off?
So they were developed mainly to help develop new techniques and equipment to help recruitment and just gain a good connection with the American public.
All right, and you're out here because you're spotting and getting ready for tomorrow's jump. What kind of things are involved in preparing for the jump besides doing the site survey?
So for today, for me, I'm the advanced man. I'm just making sure all the scheduling's right, all the paperwork's good to go. Today I'm out here on the field just to check out the potential hazards, just to make sure that I can relay that information onto my teammates.
Okay, early on when we were talking, we mentioned the possibility of bad weather tomorrow, but you said you're okay as long as what parameters do we need to be in?
So we need to have at least 2,000 feet in altitude. We need to be able to see the ground from the aircraft from 2,000 feet. And then as long as the winds are under 20 miles per hour, we will be good to go.
Okay. One of the questions I asked you earlier on was when you were growing up, at what point did you decide, hey, I need to be jumping out of planes? Why don't you share why you first thought about doing that with the audience?
So back when I graduated high school in 2012, I did a tandem parachute jump with my mom. And ever since that day I got hooked on skydiving. So shortly after that I got my skydiving license. And then I want to say it was in 2020 I ran into the Golden Knights at Skydive Chicago, and they convinced me to join the Army and try out for the team, and here I am.
Now you mentioned Chicago. You were actually you jumped in Chicago last month, didn't you?
I did, yes sir.
And your family was there?
They were.
All right. What did your mom think about you jumping out of a plane in Chicago?
She was pretty impressed. Luckily I was able to do one of my favorite maneuvers, the cutaway. So I was pretty happy to have her see me do that.
Okay, when you say cutaway to me, I have no idea what that is. What is a cutaway in layman's terms?
So the cutaway maneuver it's a parachute system with 3 parachutes. The normal parachutes we have 2. So what I did for that jump was I got out, I opened my first parachute, I flew it around for about 10 seconds, and then I released one side of the risers, and when I did that, I started to spin out of control. And then after about 10 seconds of doing that, I released the other side, went back into free fall, and then opened up my second parachute. And it's basically used just to show the American public what we would do if there was an actual malfunction with our main parachute.
So, I mean, what kind of exercises do you have to do to be fit to be able to... You said you're spinning out of control for about 10 seconds?
Yeah.
So what kind of training do you have to do, or is that like top secret?
It's not top secret. At the beginning of every year we go down to Florida and we do 8 weeks of training there. I'd say we average about 200 jumps per person, and during that time we all get qualified on the various types of maneuvers that we do throughout the show season.
I saw a video of you up in the plane, I think in Chicago, and you're talking, but you're also doing hand signals. How important are hand signals in what you do?
They are very important, especially on the plane. So we're always gathering information, especially the winds. So on the video that you saw, it was most likely we were reading off wind calls to the team leader who's spotting out the door.
Okay, can you throw us and explain some of the most common hand signals?
So for example, if we're flying and then the crew chief gives us the winds are 2 to 7, we'll do winds 2 to 7. And the 2 to 7 is just showing the team leader, because a lot of times he can't hear because his head's out the door with the wind as he's spotting.
Are there any hand signals you're giving to each other as you're coming down?
Typically not. Whenever we do what's called canopy relative work, that's when you crash your parachutes into each other, and a lot of times we'll get connected and fly both of our parachutes together. We'll be on radios, but other than that, not really.
So your hand signals are primarily, you're using them up in the plane when it's too noisy to communicate.
Exactly.
Okay. How high up do you jump? I think you mentioned you need to have at least, what, 2,000 feet or 3,000 feet?
At least 2,000 feet. We typically go up to, depending on what type of show we are doing, sometimes we'll go up as high as 12,500 feet, but the lowest we'll go is 2,000 feet. And then we've gone anywhere between that.
Now, you're one of 14, is that right? How many folks are on the entire team? Is it like 95, 94?
There's about 89 people in the whole Golden Knights organization.
Okay.
So there are 4 teams. There's 2 demo teams. I'm on the black demonstration team. We have the gold demonstration team, and then a competition team and the tandem team. But then we also have aviation, the administrative section. So 89 with all of that. So it's a pretty tight-knit unit.
You mentioned black team, gold team. That's pretty much your guys' colors. And that's, I guess.
Yes, sir. It's the colors of the Army.
All right. Also, you guys stay active. I had read that you do about 100 events a year, and I think on September 8th you were up at Cape Girardeau, and you said where were you last week?
Last weekend we were in St. Louis for the balloon races.
Okay. Well, then that brings the question, because one of the things I read, and we talked about this earlier, is that you usually have about 60,000 people show up at one of your events, and here in the entire county of Chatham County, we've got about 70,000 people. So unless we get everybody in the county here into Seaforth Stadium, we're not going to hit that number. So the question is, why Seaforth High School, why Chatham County?
Being so close to Fort Liberty, we really like to form a close bond with the community. So whenever we do get the opportunity to jump locally, we love to do it.
So you folks are coming down the road from Fort Liberty, or Fort Bragg as the old folks like to refer to it, and you're going to be flying into what, the nearest airport?
Yeah, so the nearest airport's about 25 minutes from here. So I scheduled for the team to fly there tomorrow, and then I'm going to drive them out here just so they can get a visual of the field, and then we'll go back to the airport and then conduct the jump.
All right. I saw a reference to a dirt run. What is a dirt run?
So it's called a dirt dive, and we do that before every jump. So what a dirt dive is it's going over what the jump is going to be on the ground. So we'll walk through whatever maneuver that we're about to do just on the ground. That way everybody's on the same page before we take it to the sky.
And you're flying in with what kind of flag tomorrow?
The POW MIA.
All right, and you're also bringing in the game ball, which is right there.
Yes, sir.
All right, so he's already got, Brandon's already got the game ball, so he's all set there. Now, you folks are associated with the Army. You're the Army Golden Knights. Do you also, there's 2 other military parachute teams, aren't there?
So I know West Point has a team. Then there are some other, like the Navy has a jump team. I'm not sure if the Air Force does or not.
Actually, the Thunderbird. But do they?
The Thunderbirds are they're pilots,
They're
so
pilots,
that's
okay.
Yeah.
See, that's why I'm asking him the questions, because he knows his stuff. I don't. I'm just a civilian. All right. For the folks out there that know the planes, what are you flying in to? What are you flying in tomorrow?
Tomorrow we'll be flying a UV-18 Viking Twin Otter.
All right. And you'll have a total of what, 4 or 5 planes?
We have 5 planes total. We have 3 UV-18 Viking Twin Otters and then 2 C-147s.
All right. I got a question. How long do those planes last? Because I had read that you just retired a few aircraft. 2 34-year-old, was it Fokker?
Yeah.
Fokker C-31s?
Yeah, so before, this is my first year on the team, so I
Okay.
can't really give you an accurate number there because I'm not entirely sure. But we just implemented the C-147s not too long ago.
All right. Coach Amy, he was here earlier. He was talking to you about setting up for tomorrow. He's asking everybody here to be here by 7 o'clock. You're doing the first jump at 7:15. What kind of safety precautions are you all taking, and what kind of things you want to make sure that the folks that are here to see you come in and the game should be making sure that they're doing?
So we're our ground guy is going to make sure everything's safe and good to go on the ground. We will not jump unless he radios up that it is good to go. Safety's our #1 priority. So if it's not going to be safe, we will not conduct the jump.
All right. You mentioned that you had run into some Golden Knights parachutists back in, I think you said 2020.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have a recruitment station set up here for this event. What kind of information can folks get at that recruitment statement? It will be over by the concession stand, so you can easily find it.
So after the jump, me and all my teammates, we will go over to the recruiting tent with our parachutes. We'll pack with the crowd, interact, whatever questions they may have. Feel free to ask us about the Army or free fall parachuting. If you have any questions about joining the Army, if we can't answer that, the Army recruiters will also be there to help out.
I think this is probably close to the last question. You've been doing this for a year. What's put the biggest smile on your face about doing this?
Just seeing how excited the American public gets when you jump in and just inspiring kids. There's nothing like it. It's the most fulfilling job I can possibly think of, so I'm honored to be on the team.
How many jumps have you done this year?
This year, probably, I would say since last October, close to 400.
All right. Out of those 400, that's a huge number. I haven't even jumped out of a plane once. Out of that 400, what's your most memorable jump?
I would say, as of now, Chicago, just because my family was there and it was pretty cool to see the lake and then the whole skyline. So.
And you come down, you're using a well, it's not a GoPro, but it's a GoPro competitor, 360 when you're coming in. And I heard you say that may be available for people to view later. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
So a lot of us will have. I personally have an Insta360. There's other guys that have GoPro 360s. So we have various cameras. So there'll be quite a few different angles for people to check out.
All right. What else do folks need to know about tomorrow evening?
First jump will be time on target at 7:15, so the earlier you get here, the better. We're going to put on an amazing show, so I hope to see a lot of people out here.
Okay, when you were out here, you're prepping for the show, you got the lake on one side, you got tree lines on the other, so you have not been able to decide which way you're coming in yet because that's going to be dependent on the weather conditions and wind conditions tomorrow, is that correct?
Right, so the wind determines which way we're going to land. So whenever we land against the wind because we have more stopping power with our parachutes. So based off the wind, that's where we're going to land.
All right, Brandon, thank you very much. Folks, be here early. Brandon, when you say landing at 7:15, you mean landing on the field at 7:15.
Oh, yeah.
So do not come late. Be here because at 7:15, Brandon's landing whether you're here or not. All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Hey, we'll look for you tomorrow. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.